Hello, good morning, everyone. We are very happy to have you here for this new RailTech Masterclass with Ermewa on accelerating sustainable freight transport. Welcome, Peter. Now, while preparing this masterclass, I've received a bit of feedback on you from the ecosystem. I have a couple of discussions. And I heard two things about you. One is that you have a real vision for the industry. And number two is that you're the most French-German person they know. So both are good things, I guess. And I'll let you present yourself in a few minutes. And before we dive in, just wanted to make sure that everyone knows how to use the tool that we're using today. It's Livestorm. So you can see on the bottom right-hand side that we have a chat. And you can say hi, you can say good morning, you can say where you're coming from. Then the second thing you need to know is that we have a questions tab as well, which is pretty useful because we will pick up all the questions at the end of the webinar. And the nice thing to know also is that you can upvote the questions. So if you see a question that is interesting to you and that you absolutely want an answer for, then you will be able to upvote it. Then we have polls that we're going to post during the webinar, so you can also give your opinion on the questions that we're going to, on the polls that we're going to ask. And now a few words about EveryCent for those of you who don't know us yet or who need an update because we've been around for almost 10 years now. Well, we develop a tool like a control tower that enables shippers and their partners to manage orders, plan rail freight transports, manage loading operations, track single wagons and block transports with an accurate ETA, and measure performance with KPIs and ROI-focused insights. And our ambition for the market is to turn rail freights into a convenient and attractive way of shipping goods. And by attractive, we also mean financially attractive. So we do attach importance to cost management and profitability as well. And if we do our job right, we will contribute in keeping shippers on track and also attract more volume to rail. So that's about EveryCent. And Peter, now up to you for a quick presentation of yourself and Ermewa, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nathalie. My name is Peter Reinshagen. I'm working with Ermewa as the managing director, and this since 8 years. I have been in logistics for the last 25 years, in aerospace logistics and then automobile logistics, and before in the automobile industry. So very much industrial and logistics oriented. Yeah, that's in French-German, as you said. I'm German, but living in France. Okay, I'll share the presentation. Yeah, here. This click. I hope we can see the,
yes, absolutely.
the document. Okay, fine, perfect. Yeah. Title is Transportation Needs to Drastically Reduce its Greenhouse Gases Impact. And just give you an idea, the French High Council on Climate has estimated the emissions coming from France, and these are 386.9 million equivalent CO2 tons. That's the way you measure this. And here is the here's the ranking of the different sources of greenhouse gases. And you can see here that 32% of all greenhouse gases emitted in France are coming from transportation. And here, about 33 million tons equivalent of CO2 are coming from trucks and heavy-duty trucks. And this is the slide. This is the image of the differences between rail and trucking. and it's in no way we want to put the competition between trucking and rail. It's simply that rail is really more adapted to fighting climate change because it has lots of advantages, not only on CO2, but on other gases as well, and in terms of space and landscape that is used, and as well in terms of safety. So what can we do? Because transportation is essential to our economic activity, so we cannot reduce or we cannot eliminate transportation. That would be crazy. So what we need to do is to optimize transportation, and an enormous tool here is digitization. And what Nathalie just presented about every sense is perfect. Every sense can and tools like the one from Every Sense can be extremely useful tools to optimize transportation. The second is we need to decarbonize heavy duty trucks, and because rail will never replace trucks, we can just make a little bit more rail than trucking, but trucking will always be there, and we need to decarbonize trucking. And then the third point is shift to rail, and shift to rail, in fact, didn't happen. And the question here is why. And for this, we need to go a little bit more into transportation. The shares of the different parts of the different transportation cargo. And you can see here that 36% of transportation in Europe in 2021 were bulk transportation, 9% container, and 55% inside trailers, and here mainly pallets. And when you then analyze bulk transportation, there's almost no growth now, and this is because coal and oil and other bulk cargo is in fact not increasing, and soon probably decreasing. So there's no growth or even decrease, and the share of rail in bulk transportation is already 34%. That's actually our main activity. It's 12% of the total rail share is in fact bulk transportation. And maybe we can increase this to, let's say, 40%, but that would be a huge step already. And so there's not a lot of growth in this in bulk, and there's not a lot of growth of rail in this share. Second would be container transportation, and this is 9% as said. There's some growth. The last 2 years, in fact, we had quite a big decrease, and rail share is already 41%. Again, it could increase a little bit, but there's not so much left for rail to be increased. So the part that is really growing at 3% annual growth rate, and where rail is basically absent, this is the cargo that is inside a trailer, and this is mainly pelletized transportation. And total share of rail in Europe is 17%, and you can see that here the trailer transportation or pelletized transportation is almost negligible.
So what is holding us back? What is holding the growth back, and why are we stuck on this?
It's basically for the reasons that are listed here, and Europe has set a target of 30% modal share for rail in 2030. Germany has set this at 25%, and France at 18%. And neither Europe or one of the member states will meet these targets. There's no chance that in 2030 these targets will be met. And the reasons for this is, as I just said, the traditional cargo that is transported by rail is not growing. We are mainly bulk transport. The rail is mainly transporting bulk, and this is not growing. And container and trailer transport by rail has actually decreased a lot in 23 and 24, and container and trailer transportation actually represents and reflects road transportation. But the main reason, I think, is in fact that rail transportation is one way, and container and trailers are a difference, and that's probably as well why they are growing. The rest of rail transportation, and especially bulk transportation, is one way. That means this one way needs to pay for the empty return. And that's, of course, a huge issue on the economics of this transportation. Another subject and important point is that overland freight forwarders, and especially the big ones, are not really big in rail freight. If you look at the turnover of DHL, Geodis, Schenker, DSV, or DAXA, their rail share is relatively low. There are some who are already doing quite a lot, but compared to other modes, rail is still small. And postal operators who in fact until 20 years ago were really doing a lot on rail, they have left rail and almost switched 100% of their cargo from rail to road. Then there are, of course, a lot of other reasons. The infrastructure issues, that there was no investment infrastructure, that the incumbents, state-owned companies, have a very special setup. There's the single wagon load and many other reasons why rail can't do it. We won't go into much detail on this last point and focus more on the others.
So overall, not an ideal situation right now. What are the solutions that you see to increase the proportion?
Yeah. The key element is definitely combined transportation, and that's really an important point. Is not to oppose modes one against each other. This is a supply chain, and this is transportation, and the shipper in fact doesn't care about what mode is used. You just need to meet the targets and the KPIs in terms of performance and pricing. And the moment you combine the different modes and this works out in terms of performance, that's perfect. And the best way of really trying to increase the mode, the share of rail, because of its better climate gas performance, is in fact combining road transportation and rail, and use road for collection and distribution, and rail for the long haul and the long leg between those two road legs. And combined transportation is in fact this. This is the definition of combined transportation, and it's mainly known for container and for trailers. But in fact, groupage transportation could be combined traffic, and in fact, automotive transportation of a car. Transportation of a car is as well combined transportation. Yeah, and what I would like to do is go a little bit more into groupage. What is in fact groupage? Maybe not all of you are in detail familiar with what groupage means. In fact, it's a shipper has a number of pallets to be transported from his plant or his warehouse to customers all over Europe. So what he does, he calls those big groupage operators, which are DHL, Schenker, Geodis, and there are many, many more. It's a huge market. It's several billion euros, I think about more than 10 billion euros in transport market. And he calls those operators and actually asks them, hey, come by and collect my 5 pallets that will be shipped to 5 different destinations all over Europe. And so the operator sends a small truck, normally a 7.5 ton truck, and this truck is then collecting the pallets and bringing them to a cross-dock, a depot that is an expedition depot. The pellets arrive, they are sorted according to destination, and then today with a big truck, with a heavy-duty truck, transported to another destination cross-dock, which in fact is then where the cargo is again sorted and then distributed by again small trucks to the destination, and the destination of the cargo by small truck. And in fact, the same way can be done in the other way around. So there's back and forth cargo between those cross docks. And you have the explanations here, the collection in pre-carriage, there's consolidation outgoing, the main leg, which is the number 2, the transportation by truck, deconsolidation incoming, and then the distribution in on carriage.
Now, this looks, I think it's the most efficient way to do it, but is it sustainable as well? Or how would you make this most sustainable?
That's the big idea that we are working on, is in fact to simply replace for a number of relations between very big consumption centers, replace the trucking part, the main leg trucking part by rail. And that would have a huge advantage because in fact you can then transport the pallet that had been collected maybe by a 7-ton electric truck, and electric truck exists today. They 7.5 tons ones. They are battery trucks that are not a lot more expensive than a fossil fuel truck, and can be these collections, these milk runs to collect the pallets is around 200-300 kilometers. So this can be done with one loading, with one battery charging, and the truck can then go to the cross dock and be charged again there to go back for distribution afterwards. So that's relatively easy to organize. And in fact, except for changing the truck into rail, there's no change in the setup and in the costs. And that would be the big advantage, to really use an existing system, simply replace the main leg from truck to rail, and like this get back and forth transportation, and in fact achieve a cost per pallet that could be and would be even cheaper than by truck. And for long haul, for long distance transportation of more than 500 kilometers, this has a real economic advantage. And that's the idea that we have developed. And like this, you have 100% decarbonized groupage transport product that is really CO2 free from the shipper to destination.
Thank you, Peter. What are this is the question I wanted to ask. What does it need to actually set this up?
The key element, of course, is the infrastructure. And the cross-dock, of course, needs to be road and rail connected. Cross-docks today are mainly close to motorways, to highways, and so there's no rail connection. But until the 1990s, a lot of the groupage transportation in Europe was actually done by rail, and you have companies like Schenker, or in France it was Cernam, whose business model was built on groupage transportation by rail. And so those cross docks, there has been cross docks and delivery, collection and delivery train stations all over Europe. Many of those, most of those have actually closed down, but there are still some cross docks that are road to rail. And you have a picture here of a cross dock in the north of France that is actually on the one side rail, on the other side, trucking. And this could be used for such a product. And you need, of course, then one road rail crossdock on expedition and one on the destination area and the way back. The other big issue, of course, you need volumes. To fill a truck is relatively easy because that's not that much volume and cargo you need. If you want to do a block train between two crossdocks with 10 to 15 or even 20 wagons, then of course this makes huge volumes, and it would require that there's cooperation between freight forwarders to pool the volumes and the cargo that they all have between two consumption centers. But in fact, that's not impossible, because if you think that, for example, the French postal operator between Marseille and the north of France or Paris has about 20 trucks running every day in the different the small parcels, the letter, this would be one, and then there's cross-docks and there's transportation for all different operators. Like Schenker, like Geodis, like DHL, they do trucking in between, and if they would combine some of this cargo into a block train, maybe we can fill a block train with this cargo and back and forth. Of course, this requires that this operator is a neutral one, and that all freight forwarders can use this in the same way. A key element, of course, is reliability. You need departure and arrival times that are really, really fixed and really met. But in fact, the moment you have a pass, a train pass, a secured train pass, that's actually really, really good. And in fact, sometimes there's advantages, even if it's especially if it's a long distance, because truck drivers need to rest, need to make stops, and the train actually could go from departure to destination without a stop. That then of course depends a lot on the train pass, but that's possible. Maintenance of wagons and of locomotives, of course, needs then to be on site and to make sure that the assets are 100% available for transportation, and you can do then maintenance, permanent maintenance, and of course as well with some digital tools, predictive maintenance and things like this during the downtime when the train is waiting to go back. And one key element here is that loading and unloading must be as automated as possible, and especially for example, the tarpaulin or the doors must open automatically, and you need to have as well as much payload per train as possible, and guarantee the safety of the cargo.
Now that's the hardware. How about the digital assets that you might need?
Digital is almost as important as the hardware, and the main point here is electricity. You need electricity on the wagon to make automation and digital things possible. Today we can do this with an axle generator, and tomorrow this could be digital automatic coupling, and the axle generators do exist and can be used very quickly. Of course, the electricity produced is not as much as the digital automatic coupling, but there is electricity, and we can adapt the consumption to the production of electricity available. You need, of course, full track and trace, and as well expected time of arrival, and tools like EverySense are the perfect partner here. Track and trace and ETA, but is really key, but not only on the wagon, but we need this on the shipment, because maybe there's a hub or something in between, and then the wagon track and trace is lost. But what the shippers need and the destinations need is full track and trace based on the wagon, on the pallet, maybe on the box and the parcel that is on the pallet, and then even on the part or the product that is inside the box and the parcel. And this is what we really need, and we need to make sure that the shipper has a full visibility of his transportation. There are, of course, as well sensors to be available on temperature. If you have if you need to supervise the temperature of the transportation, humidity, has there been an intrusion during transportation? For example, if you can measure empty space, you can stop maybe somewhere and add some cargo, and like this optimize space. A digital twin that records all the data on operation, and of course on failures, and then you can optimize maintenance and really do predictive maintenance, and like this cut down downtime to almost zero. Of course, for safety and for maintenance, you need to collect data on critical equipment, which is the brake system, the bogies, the wheels, and like this, make sure that there's no safety issue, and again, optimize maintenance.
How do you prepare for this change at Ermewa?
Yeah, we have worked. We are working on a wagon to optimize transportation of palletized cargo. We have, in fact, with our customers in France, we have worked for the last 5 years to really identify the pain points in the transportation of palletized cargo, and have collected this information, have checked it with the different customers, and based on this have looked for the best and the optimal solution. We've worked on modal, on different on multi modal solutions. We have worked on containers. We have worked on all different types of wagon that are available for this transportation of pallets, and we really have identified the Rils wagon. So this is the tarpaulin, a wagon with tarpaulin as the most optimized solution. And here we have developed a system that is that comes with automatic opening and closing, and we are working on a wagon that is in fact two axle wagons short coupled, and that would allow for an increase of the payload by 10% more pallets on a wagon. The moment the train has 650 meter lengths. The more lengths, the more pallets. Of course, if you go down to 550 meters, then you have the same number of pallets than a normal Rils wagon today. And there are lots of other interesting features, like lightning, anti-collision alert. There's an IoT platform coming, and many other possible things.
All right. Just before you reach your conclusion, I just wanted to remind everyone there's a question tab at the bottom right of the page where you can ask questions that Peter will respond to. And yeah, before that, Peter, you can go to your conclusions for this webinar.
Yeah, conclusions for the webinar would be that with the traditional cargo transported today by rail, there is no shift to rail. There's no question about that. And if you want to do shift to rail, political ambition is absolutely not enough. What you need is economical solutions that are attractive to freight forwarders and shippers. An economical solution means it can't be more expensive than the supply chain cost and the pallet cost per pallet today. So this is a key element. Just because something is maybe less impacting on the environment is not an argument. The argument must be both economic and sustainability. Shift to rail needs close cooperation between all actors and between the modes and digitalization of cargo flows. There's absolutely no use in opposing truck or train. It's the combination and the cooperation that counts. And to make this as easy and as possible for the shipper and for the freight forwarder, you need to digitalize. That's number 3. And the number 4 is, in fact, this is a question of cooperation, and everyone needs to work in the same direction, and to think about how to enable. We, Ermewa, we are of course a rental company. We are not a transport company, and we don't want to be a transport company in the future. But we need to think about logistics. We need to think about transport solutions, and to work with the freight forwarders and the shippers together to be an enabler of shift to rail and to think about solutions in that way.
All right. How do you concretely share your vision inside Ermewa?
But we have, for example, started a process to make workshops with the shift to with the climate fresque, in French fresque du climat, which is it's a 3-hour workshop, and we will have every employee at Ermewa to do this workshop at about 10 to 15 people for each workshop. The workshop is 2 hours to explain the causes and the consequences of climate change. And after those 2 hours, it's a really tough moment, because you realize that we need to act now and decisively. And then you have 1 hour of real workshop on what can Ermewa do as a company, and what can I do as an employee at Ermewa to make shift to rail happen, because shift to rail is one of the easiest ways of reducing the climate impact of climate impact, and especially climate impact of transportation. And as we have seen, transportation is the biggest source of climate gases in France. This means there's an impact.
All right. And yes, Katja just shared the link to have a look yourself at the Climate Fresque movement. And I think we can now go to the Q&A. I'll just share my presentation again. And there is one question already from Pelagie, and she asks, we see more and more rail users coming from non-traditional industries like beverages or other FMCG areas. Do you see this as a trend? And can Ermewa help facilitate entry to rail for those newcomers?
But that's exactly the point, because most of those beverage and FMCG cargo is transported on pallets. And so for the moment, there were not so many solutions available for the transport of pallets, and especially we need to we cannot just ask the shipper to say, hey, I put this on rail, and then the return transportation is empty, and this means necessarily a higher price per pallet transported. That cannot be the solution. It must be that we have that we have the assets and the tools available to transport pallets on rail, and then think about how to make backhaul transportation possible.
Thank you. And there is another question from Jasper, who would like to know, apparently what you propose is mainly efficient for longer distances, 500 kilometers and longer. Do you have any idea what is the share of this longer distances in the total share of carriages, freights, and what share could go to rail if you optimize this concept?
But I don't have the detailed figures on that, but the average transportation by rail is about 300 kilometers. And in fact, rail's big advantages are above 500. And 50% of all rail transportation is international in Europe, it's crossing borders. And there's lots and lots of problems when you cross a border because of all those historical things that rail that are big drawbacks to rail transportation. So if we try to put as much as possible long haul, so 500 kilometers and more, and especially cross-border transportation on rail, there's a huge volume because the European Union is a fully open market with access to without no cargo control at borders. So there's a huge opportunity. But for mainly historical reasons, locomotives still almost always stop at the border. The driver is changed. There's still a new control. There's new strange things like the lamp at the end of a train need to be changed at the border. So we really need to change those things and to make cross-border long-haul transportation by rail possible and efficient.
All right. No more question for the moment. If you want to ask your question, please do so now and we'll get back to it. All right, yeah, and for those who are interested, just a quick information also, if you would like to pursue conversations on this topic, we're organizing the RailTech Summits, so physical events, on the 14th of November in Paris, and there's going to be champagne, and there's going to be a great program as well, with roundtables, with industry presentations, and so yeah. There's the link to this event that is going to pop up in a few. Yeah, there it is. Thank you very much. At the bottom left of your screen to register for this event, and just having a look if we have any more questions. And I don't think so. Last orders now. If you need to ask your question, please do so now. And otherwise, I would say we're finished here. So thank you very much, Peter, for the presentation, for all the information you provided.
Thank you very much, Natalie, and every sense for the opportunity to present this very important subject to the public.
Right. Thank you, and see you soon. Thank you for those who were there, and see you soon with the replay and new RailTech masterclasses. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.